Good evening. Welcome to October. Welcome to fall. Welcome to our October 4th regularly scheduled board work session. I want to welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us and thank you for tuning in. I'm going to jump right into our public agenda. And we just have Miss. Yes, ma'am. All right, while Ms. Ellamy makes her way, I will go ahead and read our usual policy and disclaimer. All official meetings of the Board of Education shall be open to the press and the public. However, the board may meet in executive session. Citizens are encouraged to address the board agenda, items on the board agenda, or to initiate presentations of issues that's appropriate for school board consideration. The board meeting is not the appropriate place to review individual employee performance or individual parent complaints that have not been addressed by the principal or superintendent. Citizens are encouraged to follow the normal channels to address such problems, and we only have one signed up for our public agenda item, and that's Ms. Teresa Ellamy. I'm checking that out. You have props. All right, would you pop that microphone, Ms. Lawrence? And, all right, thank you. You have 5 minutes, as you are aware.
You to see a draft strategy chart for the work we're doing in Columbus, which we're calling Columbus Organizing Together. When I first came here and started working with Mr. Blackwell in May of 2011, I was really focused on the out-of-school suspensions. But I made an open records request recently, and I got the graduation rates starting in 2012 going forward. And Dr. Lewis, I have a really great appreciation for what you've done. Can anybody believe that in 2012, the graduation rates at Jordan High School was 45%. The majority of students would not graduate. That was also true of another school, which you can see on the chart that I provided you. And since Dr. Lewis came in July of 2013, you could see the progress. You know, in the organizing tradition I come from, we say we fight, we build, and we heal. For these first 10 years, I've been fighting so hard for the children. And we're at a point right now where we're starting to build. We're starting to build, Dr. Lewis. So I'm concentrating at Wilson Homes, and I'm working with Danita Lloyd Gibson. She put this together to make the women at Wilson feel good. We bring clothes and shoes and handbags and jewelry there, and the women come out and shop. So these are pictures of the women who get to shop at Wilson. There have been murders at Wilson this year. there was a shooting at Wilson on Friday. And what I want to say is that we're working on a 10-year plan, Dr. Lewis. The children who are in 3rd grade now, who are 8 years old, they'll be graduating around 2030. So the strategic plan, first phase that Ms. Jones sent to all of you today, covers November 2020 to November 2022. And when you look at the draft, you'll see that we don't have a list of any partners who are elected allies. I want to be able to put all of your names down there. I already have Ms. Vanessa Jackson. She's been working with me for years on clarifying the difference between equality and equity, and we need equity. So I'm asking her to speak at the Parent Summit on November 10th on the question of equity in education. Dr. Lewis has already agreed to speak, to provide a state of education report. The mayor is going to speak to provide a state of public safety report. 55th murder happened today. They're your former students. They're the ones who dropped out. They're the ones we lost. So I'm concentrating on working with students in elementary school, because within 10 years, they're gonna be graduating. So the 89, 80 whatever graduation rates, they're gonna get like the Columbus High rates at all the other Title I schools. We're gonna have the graduation rates at the Title I schools close to the Columbus High, because we want that to be the standard. Because what I've learned about you, Dr. Lewis, you're all about the excellence, and you put together an amazing team. When I saw those numbers from 2012, and I asked you when you started, and you told me July 2013, I'm looking at the progress that has occurred on your watch. And I'm so grateful for you. When you look at the data and you see the numbers, that's how you know how well you're doing, and you're doing great. So let's work together. Let's work together. Thank you so much, school board members. Dr. Lewis, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Elamine. We appreciate that. Go ahead.
I just want to thank you, Ms. Elamine, but I really have to take this opportunity to recognize the senior executive staff, the cabinet, the principals, and all the teachers in the classroom, the counselors, everybody. It's a team effort. It's everyone working together. So your point is well taken. We need the community and everybody, but I just want to acknowledge the work that's going on in our schools to help the graduation rate improve, that is consistent with the work that's being done in our schools on a daily basis. So thank you.
All right, next we have a presentation, and it will help us appreciate these nice baskets. Thank you for the Division of Student Services. But we have a presentation for October Awareness Month, and I think it's quite creative that y'all put them all in the basket.
Superintendent Lewis, our distinguished school board and cabinet members, we want to take this opportunity to thank you for your continued support for all of our students, our parents, and we wanted to highlight this particular month. As you're aware, there's a lot of awareness going on in the month of October. So we wanted you to share in some of the great and wonderful things that we're doing within our district. I have an amazing group behind you. Everyone has really pitched in to offer these baskets, just little trinkets to say thank you. Within your folders, we wanted to go beyond October, and we wanted to make sure you had all of the awareness dates. Some you probably already know, and some you're probably scratching your head because who knew that there were certain dates that were listed there, as well as just our employees in terms of screening. So we have our wonderful Ms. Paul Hamus, who's in your folders also. I have contact individuals. If you want to know about stats, or if you want to know about particular events that's happening within our district, I also put in the folders our contact. And I didn't introduce myself. I'm Dr. Nelson, the Director of Counseling and School Social Work. I have with me here Ms. Paul Hamus, who's our lead nurse. I have Dr. Gilmore, who is the Director of Prevention and Intervention Services. I have Dr. Sutton, who's our Program Manager and works in conjunction with Ms. Coaxum and her amazing team, as well as Dr. Gilmore. We have Robin Bobber Hodge, got it right? She and Ms. Coaxum work in tandem to make sure we support our students with disability, and of course, the amazing Mr. Scott here. And so we have each representative here. And then we also celebrate bully prevention with the color orange, and that's for the entire month of October. We also included, and I'm really excited about this, National Disability Employment Awareness. And this is an opportunity for us to highlight our employers within Columbus, Georgia, as well as transitional programs that support our students with disability. We have dyslexia awareness, which is happening all month long. And our wonderful Dr. Sutton, who's working on our dyslexia project, to make sure that our students with dyslexia, or also the students that we may have some concerns about, that we're highlighting and intervening on their behalf. We also have mental illness awareness. This is not mental health, that's in May, but this is National Mental Illness Awareness Month, and that's denoted with the color green. And Dr. Gilmore and myself, if you have questions, please feel free to reach out to us. We have some great information. And I want to round it off with Red Ribbon Week and domestic violence, National Domestic Violence. So those of you, Red Ribbon Week, we know it's been going on since 1988 within our schools. And so we are hoping, with the help of Ms. Lewis, she's jumped right in, to actually extend this to our district offices now. So Ms. Lawrence, to our district office so that they can now participate in Red Ribbon Week. So without further ado, I also would like to thank the person who made this happen, who actually had the brainchild behind this project of getting you baskets and making sure you had those awareness dates, is Dr. Angela Vickers-Ward. You're good? You want to come? Okay.
They did an amazing job, and I'm just really proud of the work. A lot is under our umbrella in Division of Student Services, and we work tirelessly to provide relentless service to make sure that our families feel supported, that our children feel supported, as well as our faculty and our staff. And so this is just a small way to show you the various things that fall under the umbrella and what we're charged with working to help serve our community day in and day out. And so we hope that you would take this basket as a token of appreciation for your support. And please just, this team here, they work very hard, and I give it all the credit to them. So thank you very, very much.
Thank you all so very much. Okay, we will now move into our committee reports. Education Committee, Ms. Buckman.
One item in the Education Committee, and that is on the leadership development update, and we will have Mrs. Smith present that for us tonight.
All right, good evening, Dr. Lewis, members of the board. I just want to provide a brief update on where we are with leadership development and supporting our leaders in our schools. And so my name is Tim Smith. I'm the Executive Director of Federal Programs, and I get the pleasure of working in this area. So we're going to jump to the next slide. While we're waiting for that, we're going to look at 3 different areas, where we are with the assistant principals, where we are with the aspiring principal cohort, and also where we are with McCrell's balanced leadership.
Do you have your clicker up there?
There is a clicker right here in front of me. Thank you. All right, so for assistant principals training, we are doing monthly trainings this year, as we did last year. We are not including December this year based on feedback from last year. They thought December was a little too hectic. And then we cut it off at March because of testing and end-of-year activities. We are looking at doing basically a 3-year rotation of topics. So they're not getting the same things every year, and we're getting cross-divisional interaction with that training. And so right now we're projecting the trainings for this year to be, and these are not totally finalized because I still have to get with some divisions for the spring, but right now we did in September, Frank Wright and one of his guys did training on infinite campus reports and how to build some of the queries that schools need. This coming month, or this month that we're in now, DIS is providing training to principals and assistant principals on Canvas. Next month, we will do formative assessment. Patrick Knopf will lead that. And then we're looking at budgeting for January, Godot portal, student record reporting in February, and then stakeholder involvement in March. These are, at this point, we've been doing them via Zoom just because of the number of assistant principals we have. That at this point, that's not going to change anytime soon. And we are recording those as well. So if they miss them, we're able to send a link out to them and have that to refer to back in the future. We're also doing Clifton Strengths. Last year, Clifton Strengths assessments were taken by our assistant principals, and so that'll be an optional training they could participate in a small group activity on December 3rd. Depending on interest, we may extend that out to another day in the spring. Moving into the aspiring principal cohort, we have 10 members this year. The applicants submitted applications that were reviewed by a panel. We had a member of HR, 2 principals, an assistant principal, and a director who's a former principal review those applications this year. They were, except for one mistake on one where a name was left in one area, they were blind. They didn't know whose applications they were reviewing. And so the good thing is the one that the name got left on is on this list, so it didn't exclude her from participating. But that was based on recommendation from last year, presenting and questions that you had as a board, and so we appreciate that feedback, and we are trying to improve it over time as we go. So as you see, we have Sonia Allen from Columbus, Michael Collier from David, Janelle Deloach from Rothschild, Beth Lester from Blanchard, Dr. Katie Lettieri from Wesley Heights, Candace Lockhart from Reese Road, James May from Midland Middle School, Antron Murray from Baker Middle School, Latoya Sanders from Veterans Memorial, and Dr. Seckinger from East Columbus. So I just want to provide some numbers there to show kind of the background of who we have on the group this year. 6 females, 4 males, 4 middle school, or I'm sorry, 4 elementary, 5 middle, and 1 high school. Last year, we only had 1 middle school, so it's a little bit of a swing there. 7 are African American, 3 are white, 6 are from Title I schools, 4 from non-Title I schools, and then I thought it was interesting to look at the content areas that they're endorsed in, and so we've got a pretty good coverage there across the 10 of them. So I'm not going to read through all of those, but we have most content areas covered. We've got elementary on there, some of the key areas for middle, and then some high school topic or content areas as well. I'm not sure why that last bullet is like that. Wasn't like that when I had it on my computer, so I'm not sure what happened there. But That should be, with endorsements, 4 of them had TSC endorsements, which are the teacher support and coaching. 3 had gifted endorsements. That one behind the logo is a coaching endorsement, which is similar but a separate endorsement from the TSC. And we had 3 of those, and then one of them has an ESOL endorsement. So a lot of topics that are covered within this group instructionally. The activities we're going to do with this group this year, book studies. They're doing a book study on the first 90 days, which they'll have a final project tied to. We've also added the culture code as a book study that we'll do in the spring with them, and we've invited the last year's cohort, minus the 2 new principals, to participate in that as well, since we didn't do that last year. We will have principal shadowing. We're having 3 principal panel discussions. Last year we had 2, but we had a lot of good feedback from that. Lori Watt emceed that for us, and just a lot of good comments from the cohort as far as what they took away from those discussions. And then final projects they'll submit. I skipped over PLC's data teams training. We are contracting with Nicole Law through Corwin to provide that training. She's done a lot of training with a number of our schools, and we needed to shift after last year's consultant. So we're excited about that. The final projects, they'll submit a first 90 days plan. We're not giving them guidance on what that plan needs to look like because it needs to be personal to them. And obviously that's something that would shift depending on what principalship. If and when they get a principalship, that would shift depending on what school they would go to. But the point is to think through the first 90 days and what that needs to look like and what their focus needs to be on. Then they'll do written reflections on the data teams, implementation, principal shadowing, and the panel discussions. And then for all principals and assistant principals and deans, we're doing balanced leadership training. We did this a couple years ago, and so we need to do some refresher training. The facilitators are myself, Christine Hull, the principal at Hardaway, Marty Richburg, principal at Northside, and then Don Jenkins, principal at South Columbus. We are going through refresh training the 13th and 14th with McCrell. And then we're going to do some refresh training for the principals and APs who went through the training a couple years ago. And then we'll provide new training for the ones who haven't gone through it yet. So those days will be going out to leaders later on this semester. The refresh training for principals and APs, for all 4 days, we're looking at a 2-hour refresh training. That's 32 of our principals and APs, and we're looking at tentatively December 8th at this point. For days 1 and 2, that means they went through days 1 and 2 a couple years ago. We are refreshing 49 leaders there. And then days 3 and 4, 11 leaders. So that means they did not get, the days 1 and 2, they did not get days 3 and 4, or vice versa. And then a new training, we're looking at doing that in the spring. Well, 1 day in February, 1 day in January, 1 in February, and 2 in March, 1 in March and 1 in May. That is for days 1 and 2, that's 53 leaders. That's new leaders or leaders who did not get those 2 days 2 years ago. And then days 3 and 4, 85 leaders. Again, new leaders or ones who did not get days 3 or 4 a couple years ago. And that is where we are. We're in the midst of planning additional layers. So we have a layer for first and second year principals that we're working on a planning piece for that, and then all principals. So any questions?
I have one question. On the shadowing, the assistant principal shadowing principals, is it just one particular principal that they're shadowing, or is there enough time in this program for them to look at different leadership styles?
So that's not ironed out completely at this point. We've looked at both sides of it, and it's not totally decided. But that's going to be done in collaboration with the region chiefs because they are most in touch with the principals and what they're doing from day to day. So last year it was it was trying to get them looking at principals on different levels. So if I was elementary, I may have gone to a middle school principal for a couple of days. We want to extend it out to a longer period of time and make sure
That
they're
was my
getting
next
some
question,
key.
how long?
And we want to identify some key things we want to be sure that they are exposed to, not just, go spend a day with the principal, but certain topics like, need to sit on a leadership team meeting or SIP, school improvement plan review, update, that kind of thing. So there's different things that we want them exposed to.
So the region chief determines that portion of it?
They will be helping craft that.
Okay, thank you very much.
Development program to sort of build capacity. Do we have anything developed for our academic deans? And will they have an opportunity to participate since they will become that pool that will move into the AP? So what are we doing for those academic deans? Because this is a multi-year program. So it seems like if we're training them side by side, they'll be really ready when they have to take that position.
So the challenge has been, when we've looked at some of the districts that have leadership development programs, they have people assigned to do that. And we're doing this on top of, we're involving people on top of what they're already doing. So we can't roll it all at one time. Now, the deans we have a layer that would include them. Lori Watt's team does things with academic coaches, and she's also building out a teacher leader program. So that those things are in the works. As far as the deans, it's not that they're not going to be addressed, but we were looking at basically 1 or 2 layers per year over time, and it's just a matter of the time to get to that.
But we'll work the academic deans into the process so that we're building capacity for leadership.
Absolutely.
Are there any more questions? Thank you, Mrs. Green. That concludes the Education Committee.
Thank you, Ms. Buckner. Thank you, Dr. Smith. Next, Policy Committee, Ms. Tillery.
Presenting 5.01, the revised policy BCBK. This has been on the table for 30 days and it's ready for final adoption. A policy revision has become necessary due to amendments to the Open Meetings Act and Open Records Act that allow local boards of education to meet in executive session to discuss cybersecurity plans and to exempt the details of such plans from disclosure or production under the Open Records Act. This amendment is driven in part because of recent high-profile cyber and ransomware attacks aimed at financial and educational institutions, health systems, utilities, and government agencies, including those at the local city and county level. So we've revised, Muskogee County School Board is revising board policy BCBK. Are there any questions?
Hearing none. Thank you, Ms. Tillery. Next, Property Committee, Ms. Chambers.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. Moving on to 6.01, the Property Committee. The museum report is attached. I will not read it to you, but I will let you know that they are excited to resume offering programs in person at 8 of our Muskogee County School District schools, and they will work with 24 classes at these schools to promote creative thinking and literacy. So I thought that was a big deal. And I also wanted to mention that next month, we have the Synovus Fall Festival, and it is also returning in person. So we'll be ready for that as well. There's some other great things going on at the museum, and you can read over that. Any questions about the museum report? Okay, hearing none, I'll move on to 6.02, which is the library report. And I wanted to just mention another source for ebooks for students. And it's called Sora. I believe I'm pronouncing that correctly. This is a partnership between the library and the Muskogee County School District. Students don't need a library card. They can just log in using their student number, and they will have access to both Muskogee County School District content as well as all the juvenile and young adult titles that are owned by the library. So I think that's a big deal, and that gives them access to more information. Okay? Any questions about the library report? Okay, hearing none, that concludes the property committee, and I'll turn it back over to you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Chambers. Personnel Committee, Ms. Jackson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. 7.01 is pending for a COO officer. Is there any questions? Hearing none, we'll move on to 7.02, which is the personnel report. Has 2 attachments. Are there any questions? Hearing none, back to you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson. Our next committee is Discipline Committee. We do not have any items for the month of October. Next, Construction Committee, Mr. Cantrell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Moving on to 9.01, Construction Status Report. The first one, Columbus High School exterior upgrades, upgrading the landscape medium of the school property along Cherokee Avenue and 17th Street, renovate the main entrance stairs from Cherokee Avenue to the main front door, pressure wash the building, exterior upgrade interior front entrance hall for security, provide exit code compliance with security locking, and hardware at iron gates to courtyards. Total board approve, $2,317,000. So a lot of good stuff going on at Columbus High School. At the Columbus Museum, construction management. Any questions on that? What is a collection storage would be a question I would have for $1,014,000.
Collection storage, like most collecting institutions, majority of what we have can't be on view. So this is the place where everything is stored off view. So we have racks and files and all sculpture as well, that stored in various places. And so over time, because our collection grows, we've outgrown the system, which is also from the late 80s. So this new system will have, be more compact, and so we'll be able to use the same space and have more things stored there. So we're quite excited about it.
Good. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Appreciate it. Hannah Elementary School and Kendrick High School, the HVAC replacements. I suppose it's correct, $6,087,000. Is that correct, Dr. Lewis? And we complain about air conditioners at our house. Jordan High School, ADA parking, design, bid, build, $191,000. Jordan Vocational College and Career Academy, reconfigure spaces to support the academic change to College and Career Academy, $3,145,475, plus a $3 million eSplosh enhancement with a total of $6 million. So a lot of good stuff going on over at Jordan High School. Jordan High School HVAC, and I was asking Kathy what the HV was, heating, ventilation, air conditioning. Buildings 5010, 5040, 5041. Total board approval, $5,405,000 to replace all the heating and air in the school. And Matthews Elementary School cooler freezer, $118,000. Matthews 4-classroom addition and renovation, run $2,685,000. The new elementary school at Dawson replacement, we've got a budget approved right now of $25 million. The Otis Spencer Stadium, a total board approved budget of $27,299,000. Estimated date of completion would be March 2023. The weight room expansions at Carver, Columbus, and Northside High School, approved budget of $1,368,000. Veterans Memorial Middle School Band Room, total approved budget, $1,563,000. And of course, we'd like to thank all of the voters who voted our SPLOST money so that we can do all these wonderful repairs at these schools and keep them updated. And Dr. Lewis, hopefully when we hire somebody to replace Mr. Goldberg, we'll have presentations of pictures again like we did. That was very informative, and you know, it keeps everybody up to date.
Great segue. We actually have a drone flight for over the Otis Spencer Stadium. So at this time, if you would, gentlemen. I'm sorry?
If it ever stops raining?
Yeah, we have one, yep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, wonderful.
Start to see buildings take shape and,
Not a whole lot of dirt.
yep. Mud today, but yeah. Start to see the field taking shape.
Wow.
I assume we're looking at a bank that goes down to the field, which the vehicles are in, right? That bank must be the stadium seating? Does anybody know?
That's, yeah, I think, Mr. Battles, yeah, is that correct, I believe? Yes, it is. That's correct.
Right.
How many acres is that, Dr. Lewis, approximately?
How many,
7, that's all?
6, 40, oh, 40, I was gonna say 42.
Okay. It looks big.
That's way more than 6. Kept saying 42. 42. is the
42 acres.
Total
Okay.
number of acres on that. Thanks, Jeff. Yep.
That was a wonderful video. Thank you, sir. Madam Chair, unless there's any question from the board, that will be all for the Construction Committee, ma'am.
I just have a general.
Yes, ma'am.
And it's about the HVACs. I know that typically the HVAC would cost, I know we've approved HVACs before for like $15,000, $20,000. So I was wondering how many HVAC units are included with the $6 million for Hannon and Kendrick? And then there's also like a project management and construction fee, so are we building something out? If somebody could just explain that.
Ward Odom, Senior Director of Plant Services. So the $15,000 to $20,000 unit, that would almost be like one air conditioning unit. The entire air conditioning systems at Jordan and then Hannon and Kendrick that are being replaced is the entire school system. So it's many units. It includes chillers, cooling towers, rooftop units, wall hung units. It's the whole combination of it
Okay,
is the reason the cost is so much.
okay, sounds good.
Thank
I knew it just wasn't HVAC. It just says HVAC.
Yes, but it's all the parts around the
Okay,
HVAC
sounds
as
good.
well.
It's a whole
So all of
system.
them are, it's time to replace all of them at one time?
That's correct. Their lifespan, 10 to 15 years, of course, we get as much as we can. They're 20-plus years old, so it's time to replace them.
Perfect.
The
Sounds
ones at Jordan Ward, are they going to stay in the middle center, or are they going to go on the rooftops? Do you know which I'm speaking of?
Absolutely. So some of the ones that are on the rooftop will remain on the rooftop, but like the center courtyard,
Right.
cooling towers, and chillers that are out there, they're actually going to move around to the baseball field side between the building and the baseball, and we're doing a screen wall around them so they won't be seen from from the field.
That'd be better, because that's been there forever.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
yes.
sure. Thank you, Ward.
All right, thank you.
Any more questions, ladies? Ladies? If not, I'm gonna say ladies and gentlemen. Yeah.
Thank you,
I'm the
Mr. Canfield.
And David.
May I ask a question before we move to Mrs. Williams, who tends to move very quickly, and I'm scared my question may get lost. We've been through, somehow I missed the personnel report. I just wanted to ask one question about that. How are we doing in terms of personnel, staffing with our personnel of teachers so far? I was talking to a teacher at one school today, and they were saying that, actually it was Fort, and they were saying that the other teachers had to substitute for the teachers on the planning period, and they couldn't get substitutes, and substitutes always a problem, but I'm not talking about that particular school, I'm talking about in general. How are we doing in terms of staffing our schools?
At this time, we have 56 teacher vacancies.
I'm sorry, I can't
At
hear.
this time, we have 56 teacher vacancies across the district. We are hosting a virtual career fair on October 21st that's posted on our LinkedIn site and is also actively on our Talent Ed site. It has been complicated because we do have some teacher relocations that aren't because teachers are effectively leaving. They're moving out of state or out of near location. There are certain other circumstances, such as if they need to quarantine for a period of time, that's also contributing to teachers having to double up on classes or having to provide coverage for one another. But we still are effectively looking for both permanent teachers and substitute teachers.
Thank you. There's a problem all over, but we're working on it.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. Ms. Williams, Finance.
Mean, it's red. That's so, makes so much sense. Okay. For the finance. My head just hurts. Okay. Finance Committee has 11 items for your consideration next week. 10.01 is the eligible flexible spending accounts. We've talked in length about this benefit, and this will be a recommendation to approve the carryover of unused funds with no dollar amount from plan year 2020 to 2021. Are there any questions? Now, I want to make sure everybody has time to ask any questions. Okay. 10.02 is the Georgia Hope Memorandum. This MOU is between the Muskogee County School District and Georgia Hope to provide school-based health services, and that is mostly mental health? Yes, thank you. Any questions on that? All right, we get into our purchase items, the next, I think, 5 items. Purchase exception A and B, you have 2 items before you. That's White Box Learning and the Arts of Education University under Board Policy DJED, bids and quotations. Are there any questions about either of those? Seeing none, that moves us 10.04. You have 2 items before you under purchase exception D, renewals for Outdoor Solutions and Crayon software renewal. Are there any questions on either of those? Seeing none, that moves us to 10.05. Yes.
I just want to make sure I'm understanding it. So they've done a 1-year cycle of the contract. We're renewing the contract. And are they increasing the amount of the contract by $333,000?
Mr. Odom will come forward. And keep in mind, as we come forward, we always bring forward an annual renewal of our contract. Mr. Odom?
Yes, so the annual renewal on that, and I don't have the paper from me, but it runs out October 31st. So the 1-year renewal on that would be November 1st through going around fiscal year FY '22 into '23. So the remaining of that 333 that says approved with, once the budget's approved, that'll be the July 1st through October 31st of FY
Okay,
'23.
perfect. So
Okay.
it's not an increase.
No,
It's just
absolutely
a
not an
change.
increase.
renewal.
We're taking 333,000 out of the fiscal year 2023 budget.
Yes.
Yes, okay, I got it.
And we can do
Just
up
needed
to a
to
three-year
understand.
contract, right?
That's
So we
right,
can
we
have the
have-
original approved and 2 renewals.
The original and 2 renewals.
Thank you. Any
Thank
other
you so much.
questions? All right. Ms. Buckner?
Did you want to go? Oh, I'm sorry, because I could have waited. I just, my comment was another reason Mrs. Williams said something about me when I said that we moved kind of quickly during these items. I want to call it to the public's attention that these items are divided into categories, which makes it kind of easy to get through. Because right now we're doing renewals, and then we also do, the next item will be items that we bid on. The next one will be professional services. So it's easier to get through these items because they are categorized. And so that's another reason that, that we can move more quickly through those.
Thank you, Ms. Buckner. I appreciate that. That's always helpful to clarify for transparency to the public. That moves us to 10.05, or did you have something, Dr. Lewis? Okay. Under purchase exception F, this is your invitation to bid and RFP. This is the competitive process that is done locally. And you have 8 items before you, although 4 of them are all, there's only 4 items, but you have 8 attachments for a Ford Escape, a American Facilities Services, and T-Mobile. Are there any questions on these 4 items? Go ahead.
Just like to make a point here that oftentimes we are able to piggyback on state contracts or bids that have already been gone through the process, as the case in some of these vehicles we've been purchasing them forward. Mr. Joseph and I were talking about this along with our construction folks this morning, just the fact that oftentimes we benefit greatly by having the power of the state bids on things like this as well.
Yeah, we have the ability to use our local bidding process with local vendors, go to our state list of competitively bid requests and piggyback on that. There's a variety of ways, as Ms. Buckner alluded to, that we do purchasing under. Trying to group them makes it easier for us to get through. I do want to, the 4th item, which is CDW, is for computing. So those are your 4 items. Are there any questions? All right,
I got a question.
go ahead. Yep.
Escape. I always like spending money in Columbus, and nothing against Alan Vigil. And I know it might be, but we still give them a chance to bid, even though we've got this, but trying to keep the money local with a local dealership. Do we give them a chance to try and at least beat it or match it? And I know we might be talking about $500, but it's still keeping the money local, if that's possible.
Good evening. Sorry about that. Good evening. Edwin Joseph, Director of Purchasing and Supply Management. Your question about local bidding. Historically, we've tried to local bid vehicles of that nature, and the state contract pricing has always outbid the local vendors. So in this situation, in this circumstance, what we did is we actually just went straight to the state contract because they were in the process of going out with the best bid at the time for the volume of the vehicles that we're purchasing. Since it's a white fleet, it has public other entities, not just school districts, so it gives us a broader spectrum of price discounts.
I realize that, but still, do we give them a chance?
We do, but in this situation, we did not. But we do give them a chance when we actually want to pinpoint items that are local.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome.
I agree that we should always try to at least allow our local vendors to participate when it makes sense, but I also understand sometimes it costs more than we can save by going through that process, and I assume this is one of those, but I agree with Mr. Cantrell that we should always attempt to. Any other questions? All right, that moves us to 10.06. This is purchase exception G, professional services. These are items that people have specialties in, professional specialties that we wouldn't necessarily want to go out to bid with. And you have, I think, six items before you. Are there any questions on any of those? These are just for an idea. This is like maybe services for autistic students or accounting services for auditing that you want to find a firm that is highly specialized in school districts. So that's what this category is. Hearing no questions, that moves us to 10.07. This is a monthly category for sole source and volatile purchases. These are items such as our fuel, technical training, mechanical equipment. Are there any questions on any of those? Seeing none, that moves us to 10.08. This is your monthly new budget items. These are your federal programs such as the American Rescue Plan, as well as the federal preschool that's within the American Rescue Plan, and your hygiene products in Georgia state program. Any questions? Seeing none, that takes us to 10.09. This is your monthly budget adjustments, moving our budget from various holding accounts, and help me if I say this wrong, but to our actual federal programs, such as Title I, CTAE, et cetera. Doesn't change any budgets, it just moves it to the correct area. And 10.01 is your monthly financial statements, and this does drill down on significant amount of information. It's lengthy. If anybody does ever want to take a look at it, it's all there on our website and on board docs. Any questions? And hearing none, that takes us to my favorite one of my committee, and that's our donations. And this month we have multiple donations, all the way from corporations to individuals to small businesses to anonymous to community facilities. It's always so heartening to read these. And this month we have almost $18,000 in donations from these individuals and companies and organizations that continue to support public education in Muskogee County. So thank you very much, Madam Chair. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Ms. Williams, and we will see all of these categories in one category next week. So we'll have a short meeting next week.
25th.
I'm sorry, the 25th. Our board meeting is the 25th. Our regular scheduled board meeting is the 25th. And so we will have a short meeting because most of these items will be under consent agenda. All right,
I just
Ms.
have
Jacobs.
one question.
Mhm.
Going back to 10.08, under the American Rescue Plan, the grant information, the $1.5 million, are we moving that to the SPED department to sort of replace funds, or is that adding to their budget by $1.5 million?
Yes, please.
That was additional funding that we received from the state that was allocated directly to the special ed
SPED?
program.
Okay.
Yes, it's above the information or the money that we have gotten and shared before.
Okay, it's above the 94 million that we received before?
Yes.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Just several things to bring to everyone's attention. On October 6th, that's this Wednesday, we have a ribbon cutting at Dorothy Height Elementary in collaboration with Valley Healthcare for a school-based health center. So just want to bring that to everyone's attention. Also, we have the first of 2 public forums regarding the consolidation of St. Mary's Magnet Academy and Dawson Elementary. The first one of those will be held at Dawson this coming Thursday evening at 6 o'clock, so the public is invited to come to that. And we'll share that proposed plan. That was something that was again proposed in our East Blast, if you'll recall. And this is part of the construction for that new building of that consolidation of a new school on the campus of Dawson. So we're not buying any additional property to accommodate it. But anyway, we'll have more information at those public hearings. Again, the first one is this coming Thursday at Dawson, beginning at 6 o'clock, and then the following on October 12th will be one at St. Mary's, and those will both be held in their cafeteria. Yes, the 12th is a Tuesday. Oh, okay. Just want to also bring to everyone's attention, we are very pleased to share that we've had our 5th consecutive decline in infections of COVID-19 this past week, 5 weeks in a row. I'm very pleased about that. That is certainly significant from the standpoint of, I just want to congratulate and thank all of our school-based staff, our parents, and our students for their ongoing cooperation that has allowed for that to continue to decline, and we're very pleased with that. And again, just to remind everyone that now we're talking about less than 0.2%. When you start seeing that, it's important to understand in context, less than 0.2% of our students and staff have had those infections on a weekly basis. So that's important to note, because sometimes when you see numbers, just the raw numbers, you don't realize that out of a 30,000 student school district, that when you're talking about 67 or 71 cases, whatever it might be, that's really insignificant. Not to diminish it if somebody has it themselves, but I just want to put it in context. Also want to bring to everyone's attention, if you've not heard, the social media platform TikTok has been, quite frankly, a problem for school districts throughout our country. They had a TikTok challenge last month. You may recall that we had admonished anybody from participating in that would have destroyed and filmed and videoed the destruction of school restrooms. Well, this month there's one that's a challenge to slap a staff member. And I just want to caution any students and ask the parents, please talk with your students about this. That cannot and will not be tolerated. It is battery and will be treated as such on school employees. So I just want to make sure that everyone understands the significant impact this can have for lots of reasons, but particularly in terms of students slapping or hitting or striking a staff member in any way, shape, or form. Other challenges, there have been a list of other challenges that are pretty disruptive and, quite frankly, disgraceful. And I just would ask that parents please talk to your students about this, the most recent TikTok challenges. It does present problems for us as a school, but it can also have adverse impact on families and students. So we just ask your help in monitoring those and having those conversations with your students. And that's all I have.
In light of some things that have been occurring not in this community, I would like to get our report on the security report that we did several years ago out and sort of dust it off and looking at funding opportunities through the American Rescue Plan or other opportunities that may or may not be coming down the pike when it comes to infrastructure. Yeah, I think that we just need to look at that report again on how we can harden some of the security, not only here, but in our schools as well. I just think it's really time for us to readdress that.
Okay. Yes, I will work on that, get something together. Of course, some of that is being addressed, some of it tonight, as we saw with Columbus High and some of the other areas, and then also with other East Floss projects going forward, but certainly we'll give you an update.
Maybe we can just get an update
Sure.
on where we are with those issues.
Happy to, thank you. And then we can also report on our new friend Buddy, who is our new canine that we have. Yeah. Yeah.
Dr. Lewis, What, I know we have an E-Splosh committee. When is that next meeting?
We have not yet set that until we have our COO in place.
Okay, and then they'll
Then we'll
it.
have
I
those,
just
typically we
noticed
have those about every 2 months, roughly every other
about
month.
every 2 months?
About a quarterly, roughly it comes out to about quarterly,
Okay,
depending with, when you include holidays, things like that. It usually comes out about quarterly, 4 to 5 times a year.
okay, sounds good, thanks.
All right, looks like we have no further questions. Our next, board members, we will adjourn to an executive session for a property and personnel matter. Need a motion, motion by Ms. Chambers, second by Ms. Williams to go into executive session. All in favor, wave. Thank you.